Η έκτη μας παρουσιάστρια είναι η Εφροσύνη Αδαμίδης, εκπαιδεύτρια, μέντορας, παθιασμένη δημιουργός ελευθερίας. Δημιούργησε πολλές επιχειρήσεις, σημαντικές επιχειρήσεις, με τη σημαντικότερη επιτυχία τη δημιουργία ενός επαγγελματικού δικτύου που απέφερε πωλήσεις άνω του $1 δισεκατομμυρίου σε 12 χρόνια. Μπορείτε κι εσείς. Δηλαδή, έβαλες, ρε Αναστάση, στο Μαρίνο Χατζηβασιλείου τα αγγλικά και έβαλες εμένα τα κυπριακά τώρα. Έλεος. Mentor, trainer and passionate freedom creator, created multiple businesses with the most significant building a network that generated over $1 billion in sales in 12 years. The perfect business for the 21st century. Υποδεχτείτε στη σκηνή την κυρία Εφροσύνη Αδαμίδης. Η παρουσίασή της θα είναι στα αγγλικά.
Okay, καλησπέρα. Εν τω μεταξύ, I'm going to speak in Gringlish, okay? Because if I speak in Greek, it will be entertaining, but it may not be productive. So I'm going to speak in English. Is there anybody here that does not speak English? Bomba. Okay, perfect. We're in the right audience. So, obviously we're in Cyprus, so everybody should be speaking Greek, right? Έχει κάποιος που να δυσκολευτούμε τα αγγλικά? So guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about the business of the 21st century, and I think this is actually quite relevant because as we've seen from the previous presenters, the world has really begun to change, hasn't it? We've already taken a trip to the metaverse right now. We've already seen how cryptos, NFTs, blockchain is coming into the game and changing the way that people are doing business right now. And we've already seen from our minister here how digitization is changing, and already for Cyprus, we're doing what we can in order to be at the forefront. So one of the things that I will actually say, as Andreas Yortsios was saying, is that if we don't adapt, we're definitely going to get left behind. Malekos, actually, I like what you said about being a shark, because I think this is so powerful right now. If you're not a shark, you're definitely going to get eaten with the way that the world is changing right now. Now, I'm going to take you guys back a little bit, and I want to tell you a little story about how I got into this profession that I'm going to be sharing with you guys later on today. Now, firstly, who's read of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Who's actually read or heard of the book? A handful of people. Okay. So this book was written quite a few years ago by a gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki. I remember I read this book. And in this book, he was actually talking about having a rich dad and a poor dad. His poor dad is a guy that was a teacher by profession. He did all the right things, and he talked to him about going to school, get a good grades, get a good education, and getting a good job, so you can work your way up the ladder. On the other hand, he had his rich dad. His rich dad was actually the father of one of his friends. His rich dad never graduated high school, never went to university, yet his rich dad became a self-made millionaire. So he started learning different lessons from the rich dad and the poor dad, started seeing that there was many things that were quite different. Now, I did the same path. I went to school, I got good grades, I went to university, started getting a job. But from a very young age, I always wanted freedom. Is there anybody that thought about creating freedom in their life who would love freedom? A handful of people. Anybody considered to have a business before? Or either you have a business or you thought about having a business. How many of you? A handful of people, Bomba, the majority of the room. Well, from a young age, I always said I want to have freedom. I want to be able to build a business. But from one side, I had my parents saying to me, you got to have a safe, secure job. But I mean, actually security. Okay? From the other side, I saw that my grandfather was a businessman, and I saw the lifestyle that he was able to create. So I had one foot in and one foot out. I wanted to be free, but I wanted to be secure. And after I read this book, I started realizing that there's an income called residual income. Now, residual income is the income that you no longer exchange time for money, but you make time and money work for you. Let's say, for example, getting into real estate. So I remember reading that book and going, this is what I have to do. I have to go buy a real estate. I have to go buy property. Now, as you can tell from my accent, I spent most of my life overseas. I spent 18 years living in Australia. I spent 9 years living in London. I spent 1 year living in Lithuania. Hence the reason my English is better than my Greek. That's why I'm quite international. I was living in London and I said to myself, that's it. I read the book. I was inspired. I'm going to go get into real estate. I go borrow money that I can afford and money that I cannot afford to get my first property in London. My first property was £333,000. I had £40,000 of credit card debt because I bought property the wrong way. I overextended myself. Okay, I'm guilty. I'll be the first to admit it. But after I bought that property, I started experiencing residual income. How much money do you think I was making residually from investing £333,000? Have a guess. 500? That would be good, right? Anybody else? 2,000? So I was making £200 a month residual income. That means money left over after the bills were taken care of, like the mortgage, the service charges, everything. But in my head, I'm like, £200 a month, bomba. I'm going to get 10 properties. I'm going to make £2,000 a month, which was my bills living in London at the time, and I'm going to be free. So after about a year, I managed to get a little bit more money. I get another property, another £300,000. This time, £600 a month residual income. Now I'm like, this is amazing. Now, that year was 2008 when I bought my second property. Anybody remember what happened that year? Okay, so here I am, £600,000 in debt, okay? At the time, I wasn't working one job, I was working 3 jobs. Because I said to myself, I'm gonna pay off my mortgages quickly because I wanna have freedom. So I'm working an average of 80 to 100 hours a week, £600,000 in debt, and the economy goes like this. My mortgage is here, okay? And the valuation of the property is here. And then another friend of mine gives me another book called The Business of the 21st Century. And in that book, again, Robert Kiyosaki wrote the same book. He talks about an industry called network marketing, saying that's the business of the future. Now, at the beginning, I have to admit I was very skeptical. But funnily enough, similar around that sort of time, my brother invited me to a presentation, not telling me anything about the presentation. He said to me, sis, I want to take you somewhere. I want to show you something, but I can't tell you what I'm going to show you. You just have to trust me and come. At the beginning, I went very reluctantly. I was like this. But it matter, bro, like, I don't have time for anything else. I don't have money for anything else. I went into the room. I sit in a room about 200 people. But as the presentation started going on and on, I started realizing the gentleman in front of the room had the freedom that I wanted. And I started saying to myself, you know what? Someone once said, there's nothing more expensive than a closed mind. I can sit there and I can go, paretame, whatever. Or I can sit there and go, this guy who happens to be 3 months older than me and is making 10 times more money than me and is able to travel the world with his family and has time to pick up his daughters from school, be there for the important times, and whether he works or not, he still gets paid. I needed to pay attention. That's when I decided to basically get involved in network marketing and make it my profession. Now the thing is, a lot of people, when they hear network marketing, there's a lot of mixed information around network marketing. So I said to myself, if I'm going to be representing an industry, what I need to do is I need to start learning from the professionals, from the experts, so I can have the results that they actually have. The book, The Business of the 21st Century, which I highlight and I recommend to everybody to read it. What Robert Kiyosaki was saying is that there's many key things that network marketing offers that becomes the bridge between being an employee and being your own boss. See, if we were going to launch a traditional business, what do we need to do? Okay? We need capital. How many people own businesses here again? Just put your hand up, okay? How much money, feel free if you feel comfortable to share it. How much money did it cost you to launch your own business? Roughly. Nothing. Hey? Nothing. It didn't cost you anything to launch your own business? What kind of business do you have? Lost in translation, huh? Πόσα κόστισε σας να ξεκινήσετε μια επιχείρηση, your traditional business? Ποιοι πληρώσαν παραπάνω από 2,000? Ποιοι πληρώσαν παραπάνω από 5,000? Παραπάνω από 5,000? Παραπάνω από 10,000? It's like an auction. Going once, going twice. Actually, is there someone that spent more than 15,000, 20,000 to launch a business? Yeah, to start a business, okay? So to start a traditional business, is it fair to say you need a lot of capital, correct? Okay? You need a big investment. At the beginning, it's a one-man show, isn't it? So you're going to do at the beginning, you have your own business, but essentially you're an underpaid employee. Because now you're the accountant, the secretary, you're basically doing every single job, correct? Until you can afford to bring on employees in order to start creating the freedom that you thought you would have by having your own business. See, what I liked about network marketing is this. When you have network marketing, you have a business in a box. In that business in a box, essentially, the logistics, the customer service, the product marketing, the product research, all the aftercare support, that's all done for you. The only one thing you gotta do is the marketing. You gotta go out there and simply market the products. The other thing that's really cool about it is that you can go internationally very quickly. See, I remember when my business started expanding in Romania. I'd never been to Romania. I didn't know anybody in Romania. But somebody that I knew somebody in Romania. I get a phone call one day and they say to me, Efrosyni, you have a team in Romania. I'm like, okay, cool, that's awesome. Like, what do we need to do to get you to fly to Romania to do a training for us? At the time, I'm living in Australia. It's a big, long trip to come to Romania. I wanted to give them a target that would be difficult for them to hit because I didn't want to go to Romania at the time. So I said, I'll tell you what. If you put 5,000 people in the team, I'll jump on a plane, I'll come to Romania. 6 months later, they gave me a call and they're like, we've done 5,500, will you come to Romania? I'm like, oh man, now I have to go, okay? So I go to Romania, I do a training, there's 500 people in the room. Over the next 5 years, they put in 50,000 people in the team. How easy would it be to launch a business, let's say from Cyprus, then expand in Romania to be able to support over 50,000 customers? That's one of the powers of network marketing. Now, there's so many other things I can share about network marketing, but I know I have limited time. So here's one of the things that I want to share with you, okay? Thank you, by the way, because you guys already spoke about all of this, about how many jobs have been impacted by COVID and things like that, right? We've seen that. But I want to share one more thing that I think that George Malekos actually touched upon it, but I want to bring it home a little bit with you guys. So right now we have compounding working against us, don't we? How many of you guys have noticed that the cost of living started going up? Yeah? Fuel prices, steel has gone up, food has gone up, transport's gone up, right? How many people have had a pay rise in the last 12 months? A pay rise. Αύξηση στο μισθό, is that right? How many people? Have a look. So there's probably 2, 4, 6, 7 people in a room full of 140 that got a pay rise in the last 12 months. But every single one of us has had an increase in the cost of living. So if our income is this, and the cost of living is doing this, what's going to happen to this gap? Do you know what this gap is? This is the quality of life. The bigger the gap, the lower the quality of life becomes. See, the thing is, network marketing enables people in order to bridge the gap. I'm not telling you, go give up what you're doing right now. I'm telling you right now, if you don't have some type of plan B, this gap as it gets bigger, your quality of life is going to get lower, and you're going to need to make decisions on what you're going to need to compromise on. Now, I remember one time we got asked, I remember one time that we got asked, if you had the opportunity of someone giving you $1 million right now, or €1, let's say €1 million, or €1 that would double every single day indefinitely, who would take the €1 million? There's a handful of people that would take the €1 million, right? Me too. I remember at the time I said, I'm going to take the €1 million, okay? So, but after a little bit of time, I'm like, €1 million is great, I can do something with it right now. But here's some people that said, I'm going to take the euro. The euro at the beginning doesn't really feel like a lot, but it begins to slowly double, okay? Euro becomes 2, 4, 8, 6, 9, 10. By the day 10 is 512 euros. Now, this is how a lot of people start in business at the beginning. You start in business and slowly, you're going out there, you're presenting your product, you're presenting your service, you're planting a lot of seeds, but not much is happening in your business. But over a period of time, that compound effect comes into play. 11, 12, 13, it's gone up to now 16,000 euros, okay? It starts getting interesting after day 20, doesn't it? So someone that took €1 million already, now they're like, I made a mistake, right? Okay? Now, this is not compound interest, this is compounding. There's a difference. In network marketing, there's a thing called compounded team effort. When you have one person exchanging time for money, there's only that much that can be done in 24 hours. But what if, let's say, for example, you go out and you tell a few friends, you tell a few friends, you tell a few friends, you build a team of 30 people, let's say in 30 days. What if those 30 people invest 1 hour a day in the network marketing business? You're only investing 1 hour a day. Your 1 hour a day became 31 hours that day. That is the power of compound effort. Over at the beginning, it doesn't feel like a lot, but over a longer period, that's when it becomes significant. Since compounding is already working against us, what do we need to do today in order to make compounding work for us? I believe this is what network marketing can do to enable people to have compounding working for you, to supplement the gap, keep the same quality of life, or even upgrade over a period of time. Thank you.